Trainspotting, in my humble opinion, has one of the best movie soundtracks of all time. At least when it comes to British movies, this is the most perfect soundtrack I can think of. But what makes this soundtrack so perfect to me? Well, if we ignore the fact that half of the artists on this tracklist are some of my favorite artists of all time, Trainspotting also seems to integrate these songs to the movie in a way that deeply connects with both the plot and the viewers. Lust for Life, Perfect Day, Born Slippy, or any other song featured in the soundtrack is written so perfectly to the point where fans cannot even listen to these songs without thinking of Trainspotting. But how? How did the Trainspotting soundtrack reach this level of greatness? Why is the use of these songs so genius? Well, that's exactly what I'm gonna be talking about today. So make sure to subscribe if you like 90s music or Iggy Pop, and enjoy. This is the perfect soundtrack of Trainspotting.
Choose life.
Lust for Life seemed to be an obvious choice for the opening scene to Trainspotting, seeing how there are a lot of references to both Iggy Pop and David Bowie in the original book. But, except for the fact that they both talk about life, the opening monologue and the original song have more in common than you might think. The monologue describes the life of your average person in Scotland, a monotone and boring life that isn't worth living. From Renton's point of view, this life has no purpose, so he chooses not to choose life, he chooses age. Now, if we go back to the original song, the lyrics talk about the crazy life of someone on age. Except in this case, he's actually trying to quit this lifestyle. He has a lust for life, this lust being both the desire to quit age and the way age makes you feel. I know it's annoying I have to say age or brown sugar, but I can't really mention the word on YouTube without the video being taken down. The song makes a lot of references to a 1962 novel called The Ticket That Exploded, the most obvious reference being Johnny Yen. The term, of course I've had it in the ear before, in the song means that you've been screwed over. Or another interpretation is that the protagonist ran out of spots to shoot age, so he's doing it in his ear. Despite not being any ear scenes in the movie, Renton does feel screwed over by life. But I've had it in the ear before, in this context can also mean that he's heard the same complaints over and over again, something that he mentions in the very beginning of the movie.
No way would that poison my body where I shite.
But these words do get to him, and just like in the original song, he decides that he does need to quit this shite. That was so fucking racist or something. Lust for Life was re-released. Lust for Life was re-released as a single in 1996 after Trainspotting came out, and it reached number 26 on the UK charts. 2 years later, Iggy also re-released Passenger, which reached number 22 on the charts. Due to the success of the movie, this opening monologue and the original song have almost become part of one another. Speaking of iconic 70s figures and Bowie's dear friends, the next song on this tracklist is Deep Blue Day by Brian Eno. If you're asking why I'm mentioning Bowie so much, it's because despite refusing to be on the soundtrack, David Bowie might be the most influential artist on this movie's score. He has repeatedly worked with Brian Eno, has helped with the writing and producing of Lust for Life, Nightclubbing, and Perfect Day, and also goes without mention his influence on the Britpop scene, a genre that is pretty prevalent in this movie. Now, let's talk about the worst toilet in Scotland. When it came out, as much as it was critically acclaimed, this movie was also very controversial, something that just added to its success. But old people in the 90s were angry because of two reasons. One, this movie seemed to glorify using age. Because of the cool visuals and editing, it looks like it's cool and punk to live this life. The second reason is how grotesque this movie was. It seemed like the director, Danny Boyle, wasn't afraid to be disgusting. And the most disgusting scene of them all is the worst toilet in Scotland. There's more to this scene than just a shitty toilet that makes old people angry. Funnily enough, the state of that toilet describes how life feels for Renton in 90s Scotland. I can't believe I'm actually analysing a toilet scene, but it was important for the director to show both sides of Renton's life. There's points where he has to go through his own feces to get another hit. There's also points where he felt better than 1,000 orgasms. As Danny Boyle said, we were determined to show why people took drugs. You had to show that it was fun and that it was awful. Danny had to glorify this life for people to understand Renton's intentions behind everything he does. This movie couldn't just be an anti-smoking campaign, it had to be a realistic depiction of someone's life on age. Well, as realistic as diving in a toilet really is. Yes, there's moments where it seems like taking H is the best feeling in the world, but at the same time, most of this movie is Renton regretting the fact that he got into this life. It's a short moment of calmness with a beautiful Brian Eno song in the background, and hours of struggles and near-death experiences with Perfect Day playing while you get carried to the hospital. This movie isn't scared to show everything, and that's the reason why it works so well. By the way, did you know that Oasis was asked to have a song on this soundtrack, but Noel Gallagher refused because he thought this was a movie about trains? This wonderful fact was brought to you by my Discord server. Ignore the part where I already knew this because I'm a huge Oasis fan, but join my server, I promise it's really good. Link down below. After that wonderful scene, Renton steals his friend's special tape and decides that he needs to get some pleasure in his life. He goes to the club and Temptation by Heaven 17 plays. Not to be confused with Temptation by New Order that plays later in the movie. This Temptation talks about the desire Renton and everyone else around him has for intimacy. Since he has now quit Age, he desperately needs something to replicate that feeling, and that something is Diane. As soon as Renton sees Diane, Atomic by Sleeper starts playing in the background. Sleeper being the first Britpop band to make an appearance on this movie. Despite Renton being seemingly desperate at first, when he sees Diane, he realizes that he wants more than just a night off with her. As soon as he watches her chug 2 glasses of whatever that is, he falls in love. Atomic talks about the way Renton sees Diane. So magnificent and beautiful. After that, there's a bunch of freaky scenes I can't show in this video, but you know, a whole lot of temptation going around.
I haven't felt that good since Archie Gamble scored against Holland in 1978.
When Renton wakes up, Temptation by New Order starts playing, and he realizes that he just spent a night with a minor. Incredible stuff. Later, when Renton is going through withdrawals, Diane shows up in his mind, reciting some lyrics from this very song. In this context, the song talks about the consequences of temptation, both for intimacy, which almost put Renton to jail, and for age, which destroyed his life even more. After that, we get another iconic scene of Renton talking about being Scottish.
It's shite being Scottish! We're the lowest of the low! The scum of the fucking earth! The most wretched, miserable, servile, pathetic trash that was ever shot into civilization!
Even though they're out on a beautiful field getting some fresh air, Renton hates every bit of his sober life. He feels like life in Scotland is just simply not worth living. Renton thinks that his life is ruled by effete assholes and there's nothing he can do about it, except going back to Age. When they do go back to Age, we get the second Iggy Pop song from the movie, Nightclubbing. Nightclubbing, believe it or not, doesn't only talk about going to the club. It's a song about the enticing and at the same time depressing life of the 70s. There's a lyric on the original song that says, "We see people, brand new people, there's something to see." In this context, this line can talk about Tommy wanting to try Ace for the first time, something that he will soon regret.
Better than sex, Rens. Better than sex. The ultimate hit.
The beat is dark and hypnotic, and it goes really well with the scenes of the group shooting up Age. Crisis from the future here. I kind of ran into some problems with this video when I tried to upload it, and with some problems, I mean the video getting blocked in 92% of the world. Look at the list of all the countries I got banned in. For some reason, the limit of film footage I can use without this happening is 8 minutes, which is exactly the limit for YouTube monetization. So I decided to split the video in 2 8-minute parts, which is probably gonna fuck up the algorithm or something, but it's better than no one watching it. Part 2 is up right now on my channel. There should be a thing for you to click on. You can go watch it right now if you want. It's finished. I promise it's really good.